Cashflow Diary podcast, episode 423.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you're here today because we have with us an interesting individual. And I say interesting because he could possibly be the most accomplished author we've ever interviewed on the show. He literally is an entrepreneur around his talent and ability to write. And he writes about a very interesting subject that some of you are trying to get away from, and others of you are trying to figure out how to hire for. What am I talking about? He writes about careers. That's his thing. His thing is careers, career management. And some of you are in the middle of a career you're trying to leave, and others of you are trying to hire people to help your business grow. And what I find interesting is that in the world, we can come up with so many different ways to generate an income, but the idea of helping other people just manage their career as your career as an author seems pretty interesting to me. In fact, he's got 85 editions of 17 books in 63 different languages. That's code for he really knows how to do his job, which is to help you and I go out there, either become better people at our career or hire better people. And some of you, what you really want are the secrets and strategies in an uncertain time, because he's going to teach you how to knock them dead as well. Now, you may know him already by the fact that I said the words knock 'em dead. I have with me none other than Martin Yate. He is the author of the Knock 'em Dead series of books. And here's the thing. His 2017 Ultimate Job Search Guide is out now for those of you who are looking for it. But most importantly, let's listen to his journey on how he became who he is today and see what we can learn. Martin, you there?
Hey, Jay, good to be with you.
I'm glad that you are here, sir. Thank you for taking the time. I mean, with so many books, it seems as though you don't have time to talk, but a lot of time to write. That's amazing.
Hey, anyone can write a book. All you need is the lack of a social life.
Oh. No.
17, what does that tell you? This is very lovely work avoidance.
There it is. And there it is. And there it is. So before we get too far down the path, what I want to do is I want to ask you the same question that I tend to ask everybody else the first time that they're here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. You know, Batman, Robin, Superman, Wonder Woman, etc. And I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them is that occasionally as a entrepreneur, we can envision ourselves as flying around, maybe with tights and masks, saving people with our products and services. But also, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. So if you think about Spider-Man, for example, there was a time where he was just a college kid going to school, taking some photos, trying to make sure he had enough lunch money. And then he gets bit by a spider. And then all of a sudden, he's got this new ability that he gets to choose to use for good or for evil. So my question to you is as follows. Before being a New York Times best-selling author of all of your Knock 'em Dead books, the idea of publishing in 63 different languages just kind of hurts my brain. Before all of those things that you are known for today, what we want to know is, who is Martin Yate?
Interesting question. Well, you can tell from my accent, I'm from the deep south.
The south of England?
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, I've been here for 37 years. I started out life, I had three goals in life. Number one, I thought I'd be a pastor. Why?
Okay.
Because I thought it was an hour's work Sunday morning, an hour's work Sunday night. When I realized it was a lot more, I gave up that one. One thing I could do at school was remember lines, and I'd been the lead in every play for 10 years. So I thought I was going to become an actor, and I worked in the theater in England. And then I decided to go to America to become a movie star. And I went to LA 3 times and couldn't get arrested. I could party, I just couldn't do the business bit of it. And my big goal was to write the great American novel and never work another day in my life. And none of them worked out. But out of all those mistakes and stumbling along the way, this weird career I have evolved, which has led me to be on television and radio shows as many times as most actors.
That's actually kind of funny. So
none of it was lost. None of it was wasted.
So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. You said a pastor, right? Like, as in evangelist, as in at a church.
Yeah.
And then
there's no work, I thought.
No one. Okay, I didn't know that could definitely be one of the definite motivations, but I'd never heard anyone actually admit to the idea. I want to be a pastor because I only have to work so little. But okay, so I can see that the goal of working little was definitely there. So, and you thought you were going to do that with writing?
No, I didn't plan to be a writer. I planned to write one novel, next great novel. I planned to write Catcher in the Rye or The Underground Railroad and never work again.
I see.
I spent 20 years writing and couldn't get published.
Wow.
And the third time I came to America, I came with my buddy Phil, who was at that time, one of England's great unknown guitar players. And we were in LA and we weren't making it there. And we decided to go to San Francisco because they had a music scene and a theater scene and a movie scene. And we're living on the free hors d'oeuvres that are served in bars at happy hour from the stuff that wasn't sold at lunch.
Nice.
And we went out to get day jobs. And I basically know nothing about the world after 15, 16, according to my education. And I go into this one employment agency, and I talk to this guy, looks like Jabba the Hutt, and he says, after 10 minutes, "So, how'd you like to be a headhunter?" And I say, "Well, Mr. Reporter, I grew up in the country. I had a 410 when I was 6. I got a 12 gauge when I was 9. But I've never actually held a handgun." This is 1973. I've never actually held a handgun. What makes you think I'm qualified to be a bounty hunter? And he thought I was straight off the Monty Python set. Joking. So he explained what a headhunter was. You find someone who's got a job and you say, hey, schmuck, why don't you turn left in the morning instead of right, and I can get you an extra 10 grand a year.
Right.
I said, "How much does it pay?" And he said, "Commission." And I said, "What's commission?"
Nice.
He explained, knew I was never going to get paid, didn't have a job, couldn't afford lunch, thought I'd use their phones to get a real job. 10 days later, had my first paycheck, $1,100 after tax. I mean, a lot of money.
Wow. And
I became a headhunter. And because he was a chronic alcoholic, and it was 1973 when Silicon Valley was just starting, we were the biggest, baddest headhunters in the Valley and growing in bounds. He never showed up to train the people he hired. And I suddenly said, wait a minute, I'm not afraid to stand up and talk to people.
Right.
So I started training all the people, and I became a trainer. And then I started writing manuals. And I carried on writing fiction. And then I wrote a nonfiction book, which was turned down by 65 publishers, equal to the Guinness Book of World Records in 1985. And then the 66th one bought it for what is now generally acknowledged as the smallest advance in modern publishing history. Want to have a guess how much the advance was?
$1.
$100, and I had to rewrite it.
Oh, wow.
The Knock 'em Dead 2017 is 32nd edition of that book.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. $100 advance. Hey, well, that was still lunch money back then. So that
Hey, it was the happiest day of my life. My feet didn't touch the ground for 4 hours.
Okay, so
I was going to be a published writer. It was one of my goals.
And here's the thing that I'm hearing, and as you tell your story, not you pivot a lot as whatever the marketplace hands you. You're like, oh well, that didn't work. Next thing, but yet you also don't stop. I mean, you said there was 20 years of writing before you were published. It's turned down 65 times. I know there's a number of would-be entrepreneurs that are listening who maybe even thought they were going to be a writer until you said 65 turndowns. Like, really?
Oh, that was just for one book.
Okay. So where does this tenacity you seem to have come from? Because most people quit long before number 65, the 65th no.
Well, number one, I'm an immigrant. And we know where our backbones are because we have no support system when we come here. Number two, everyone in America is an immigrant. I am ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You go to any elite sports program at any university in America, 70% of them are ADHD. What do you do with a kid who's bouncing off the walls? You put him on the track or in the pool or on the field. They do 200 years ago. They put them on a ship and send them to America. Who the hell else would have the energy to walk 3,000 miles across this country hacking farms out of forest?
Right.
It's the idea that ADD and ADHD is a curse and you are special needs and must be treated gently is ridiculous. It's a supercharger. Everyone, if you're listening, go to Google, type in ADHD famous or ADD famous. You will notice hundreds, thousands of people who have changed our world, from Teddy Roosevelt through Einstein, through Steve Jobs. They're all part of our tribe. ADHD is a supercharger. You just have to learn how to manage it.
Interesting. So let's go down this road for just a small second. What I hear you saying is that's actually a superpower.
Yes.
More than it is anything else. And that is how you power through 65 no's?
Yeah. The thing about this ADHD thing and ADD is that your mind skips. It's the way your brain's wired. So my mind skips. Hello, George. How are you? My mind skips. And I learned because I became a trainer in corporations. I used to teach time management and organizational skills. And I learned that you had to prioritize your needs and work on the A's first and the B's seconds and the C's third. And I went, wait a minute, when my mind skips, if I know what the 10 most important things in my life are, I just get it skip to one of those. Then it'll skip back here again in a few minutes. And I'll pick up where I left off. Have you heard this word? It is one of the most used words on job postings and has been for years. It's called multitasking.
Yes.
We do.
Got it.
That's this.
Got it.
It's multitasking with focus.
Huh. Got it. Okay. So when it comes down to it, multitasking with focus, I like that concept, that idea. So you've been able then to take what you've been given, the cards you've been dealt, so to speak, and make a hand that includes quite an array of books. So after you've got the goal of getting one book written, what made you say, hey, I'm just going to keep writing more books?
Well, yeah, there's two answers to that question. I'm going to give you a teaser with the first one. I not only have 17 books, I have 2 optical patents and last danced with a professional ballet company when I was 55.
Got it. I see. That's that multitasking focus coming back at us right there.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because I believe you have to pursue your dreams. You have to put juice in your life. Why did I keep on writing? Well, my first check wouldn't have bought you and me coffee at Starbucks. But I was a published author, and it was a dream come true. And they never sold 3,000 copies of a book, this tiny publisher who published me then, who has just become a major division of Simon & Schuster 30 years later, right? And I sold 10,000 copies in 3 months. They'd never heard of anything like it, and they offered me another book.
Got it.
And I did this book on, because of my background, I knew how to turn interviews into offers, and I knew how to hire people. And I did this book about employee selection, which just went into its, I think, 6th edition. That's been around 29, 30 years. And it just kind of went on from there. I didn't choose the career. I didn't have this stupid advice of follow your bliss. I was an immigrant. I didn't know anyone. There's no one to bail me out while I followed my bliss. I had to put food on my table and keep a roof over my head. I did what I had to do. And someone offered me a book. Yep. What do you want to call it? Don't care, man. Twinkie goes to Toy Town as long as you publish it and we sell it.
Totally. And I get this and I like it. It's like, look, I've got to eat, so let's get the job done. That's very similar to how I got into real estate. It's like I just needed to eat. I wasn't looking for real estate. But let me ask you this. You mentioned that employee selection, you wrote a book on employee selection. I'm sure there's a number of people who are interested in being able to select better employees. In fact, they probably even dread the recruiting and or hiring process. So
yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know them. So what would you say to that person who's thinking about starting a business but knows that they got to bring other people aboard? Maybe they've never done it. How are they to even tackle such a problem? Hey guys, thanks for listening as always, and I'm glad that you continue to support with each and every download and subscription and share. One of the things that I want to ask you though is, where are you listening to me from right now? I know some of you, maybe you're on a treadmill, maybe you're washing dishes, maybe you're walking that dog, and some of you are actually in a vehicle driving right now. One of the fun things that you can do, get some of your time back, is begin to living a car-free existence. But even then, it can be a little complicated. So one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to go over to Zipcar. Go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary. It's a way that I am able to still go get a car just for a few hours, very, very simply, so that if I have a lot of errands to run and sheets to drop off and running to the short-term rentals, or if I just want to go for a long trip up to LA and back, etc., I can rent a car for a very, very short period of time. And the cool part is I don't even have to pay for any gas. Again, go to joinzipcar.com/cashflow diary.
Okay, if you're building a business and you've got to add staff, know this, and you can take it to the bank. I won't ask you to trust me, because whenever anyone says that to me, I reach for my wallet and my credit card. Right? So, but you can take this to the bank. If you cannot hire employees effectively, you will never manage them productively.
Got it.
And that can cause your failure. The first job of a manager is to get work done through others while you're also doing the job yourself. Right? It's a whole different set of skills. And no one's ever taught you how to do it. Just like no one's ever taught anyone how to manage their careers, apart from go to school, choose a profession, start at the bottom, work hard, be loyal, make sacrifices, hang on with 10 fingers and 10 toes, and Jay, if you lose one, hang on with 9, because you'll have job security and you'll gradually make more money and have greater responsibility, and you'll retire with a house in town and a house out at the beach. And we don't have droppings,
right?
But has ever replaced it. Someone has, actually. I have. Over 17 books. I've created a whole new approach to this, which involves your entrepreneurial dreams and your dreams of being a bass player in the band or a cellist in the symphony or a painter or a sculptor, and how you bring these things to reality.
Right.
Because we live in this dreadfully uncertain world. You can't count on anything except yourself. And you speak to entrepreneurs. And that is the only true stability there is in life, when you bring money in your own front door.
Interesting and well said. Now, you mentioned this concept of job security. There are some who would believe that exists. Explain to us why you say it does not.
Well, number one, I wasn't raised in a culture that told me that was so. And I came here. First of all, I was a headhunter, and then I was in human resources, and then training development. And I saw how the world works. And you have job security just as long as it takes them to replace you with someone cheaper, a piece of software, or export your job to Mumbai, India. On top of that, I have an e-commerce business I have 10 resume writers, and I do coaching. No one else coaches our clients. And I cannot tell you the number of senior people, men and women in their late 40s and 50s, who come to me because they've been laid off, and they didn't expect it. They'd given 17, 25, 30 years of their life to this company. They had no life outside the company. And they knew there was a merger coming, but they knew they were safe, that it wouldn't happen to them because they worked so damn hard. And, a company is a shark. It has to keep moving. It has to eat to survive. And it doesn't care about you. It cares about the bottom line, the quarterly P&L. It eats banknotes. Right. That's all it cares about. And the better you get at the job, the more you cost. The older you get, the more your health insurance. 6 to 7 out of 10 people are pushed out of the white-collar working professional world by the time they're 60. The odds are you're going to get pushed out, so you've got to have an entrepreneurial angle to your career.
Well, you're actually bringing up something that I've been thinking about, and I think, and maybe, it's happening, maybe it's not, but it seems as though, to me, and again, you've been, your hands have been in this a lot longer than mine, but what I seem to see from my limited viewpoint is that there's a shift going on to more people, even at younger ages, going down some sort of entrepreneurial path, like abandoning the idea of I'm going to work for a company for even 7 years, let alone lifetime.
Yes, there is. And it's become possible. The technology destroyed the traditional career. I was there in the 70s when we were developing the damn stuff, which is why I say to my kids, hey, my generation invented it. You show me how to use it.
I like that. That's funny.
But at the same time, it destroyed music. It destroyed publishing. It destroyed newspapers. It's changed every job in every industry. At the same time, it allows everyone to go into business for themselves. I opened this website, and within 3 years, I had a global clientele. I mean, this month, we have resume clients in Perth, Australia, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Tanzania, Africa, India, and we even have a guy in some town in Mongolia that I couldn't pronounce if you held a gun to my head. Right?
Right.
It wasn't possible 25 years ago.
Right.
Now anyone can do it. It's a unique time we live in.
Well, okay, so for those that are thinking about, I mean, even those that are in college right now, I mean, they're pretty much preparing for a job. What are they to do with this information?
You mentioned the term 7 years.
Yes.
Not even thinking of spending 7 years. In Europe, where I'm from, although I'm thoroughly American, they have this thing called apprenticeship, and you spent 7 years learning your trade.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this stupid career advice of follow your bliss until you reach it. And we tried this in our late teens and early 20s. You know, I'd had two businesses flop by the time I was 20. Why? Because I knew bugger all about business. Where do you learn about business? Well, you know, maybe having a dreadful job at a company, you can learn something if you treat it as on-the-job training for your business. You might not like them. You might not like the way they do things, but guess what? They give you a paycheck that doesn't bounce every Friday. That's stupid.
Right.
And I did a book in 1995. First book, $100. This book, sold in 93, came out in 95, $500,000.
There you go.
Amazing what sells in. And this book introduced this idea of there are three ways to make a living: a core career, professional career, an entrepreneurial career, bringing money in your own front door, and pursuing your dreams for the juice it puts in your life, and finding a way to turn the dreams into revenue streams, which turns it into an entrepreneurial career. Right? And that's the book where I was called a communist and to go back where I came from, if I couldn't be loyal to the American corporation. And now everyone's talking about it.
Well, what's interesting to me is that, you know, the concept, the construct of the corporation is it got us so far. Okay, it got us so far. But yet the idea that you now have to manage your career, the very field and thing that you're in, it's just, we don't know what to do. Like, thinking about, like, the idea of, even if it is an entrepreneurial career, the idea of doing the same thing to me for too many years gets like boring. I've got to do something new. And yet it still requires a certain amount of management to it. So for those that are, you know, in various stages, how on earth are they to plot a path on this continually changing landscape that 3 years from now, the technology is going to be different. The needs, the service, it's so different. How on earth do you plan a career today?
My best advice is, if you're coming out of school, you get a job. If it's in a field you like, great. But you don't go after a job because it's just
hold on. You said get a job, and if it's in a field you like, great. You're making a distinction. You're just saying get a job, not necessarily get a job in the field you're like. If you get the field you're like, you're lucky.
And ideally in a field you like, but what's most important, you know, blogger is one of the top fastest growing jobs every year for the last 15 years. You don't want to try and get a job as a blogger. 15 years ago, there were 400 of them and 2 made a living at it. Now there's 450 million of them and 500,000 make a living at it. Whereas healthcare is a huge, enormous industry with millions and millions of employees, and we're getting older. The need's never going to go away, which means in good times and in recessions, there's still jobs in healthcare. Get a job in a big, stable profession and say, this is where I get my trade craft. Because that book I was just talking to you about pursuing these multiple career paths, hired a psychologist, had oversight by University of New Hampshire, and we did 3 statistical valid studies of the learned behaviors that helped you be successful in a corporation, helped you be successful as an entrepreneur, and helped you be successful in turning your dreams into revenue streams. We had 1 or 2 rules. Biggest one, you couldn't be Donald Trump, who started life with daddy's business and $37 million in his pocket. It had to be something you started yourself and had survived in for 5 years. Right? And these had to be behaviors that you learned, that anyone could learn. And I knew going in, it was going to be one of 2 ways. They were all the same behaviors, or they were all different. And I actually even knew more than that. I knew which way it was going to come out, but I didn't care how the studies panned out because there was a story both ways. It came out that there are a set of behaviors that are common to bringing your dreams to career streams, to starting and running your own business, and to being successful in the corporate world. And we see them in job postings every day. And the so-called career experts tell us they appear in every job description and they're meaningless. They're things like communication skills, of which there are 7 or 8, time management and organization, critical thinking, stuff like this. The reason they appear in every job posting, it's not that they are meaningless. It's that these are the skills that allow us to do whatever we do well. They underlie success in all fields of endeavor.
Interesting. Got it. So I guess then what you're really saying is that it's more of a path of continual personal development?
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, how old were you when you got your first job, Jay?
12.
Okay. Damn.
What?
5 years.
Yes.
My first paying job was shooting rats in a chicken coop with someone's Hammerlock 410 when I was 7.
Got it.
I was a hired killer at 7.
Yeah.
But most people tend to work from their mid to late teens to around 65. That's 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's half a century. Go to Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS.gov, and they will tell you that statistically American people change jobs every 4.2 years, sometimes by choice, sometimes not. Divide 4.2 into 50, and I can't do math, I'm enumerate, but you get somewhere between 12 and 15 job changes. In my world, we reckon that people are averaging 3 or more distinct careers in a lifetime. So the one certainty in this uncertain world is change, job change.
Wow.
Accountant from one company to accountant in another company, career change, accountant in one company to software designer in Silicon Valley. That's change. There's a difference between the two.
Right.
And obviously the second is much harder. So this is going to happen, and for all your hard work over 50 years, they're going to kick your tush out at the end of it. So let's have a different approach. Let's think of me, Inc.
Yeah.
What's best for me? And that means pursuing that core career while we take the time to learn how it's done and bring some of our dreams to life by turning them into income streams.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting. The concept of managing yourself as a business should change a number of perspectives, but it puts a bigger emphasis on not just graduating college, but I think it would put a bigger emphasis on skill development, even with or without the degree. So in this new world you're envisioning, how important actually is that degree?
If you don't have a degree, there's a lot of doors that are closed to you. If you do have the degree, it's just a piece of paper. Now, most kids who go through school and are not on the college track, not by any means because they're not smart enough.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of reasons kids don't go to college. They are ignored. Let me tell you something I tell people. You know what? You get 2/3 of the way through that 50-year career, and the plumber, the carpenter, the electrician, the hairdresser, they're driving the same cars, they're going on the same vacations, and they never once had to go up a high-rise salt mine. We forget that the trades where you can work for someone, learn that trade, open your own shop, hang out your own shingle, build your own business. You know what? If you every day that you wake up on the right side of the grass, all you got is time to bring your dreams to life. All you've got is time to create stability by bringing money in your own front door. And this professional career is just the starting blocks for you.
Yeah, I get that 100%. And that's just it's interesting to me just how it was a foregone conclusion, as you spoke about earlier. You go to school, get good grades, and you get a job. But now I think we have to become more sophisticated in our own understanding of what opportunities lie ahead. Because I know for me, when I was making that transition from, as an employee, I didn't even grow up knowing that there was another option other than being an employee. And when I found out, I was actually mad. Like, why didn't somebody tell me sooner? So if you were to replace the, mantra of go to school, get good grades, get a job, what would that new mantra sound like from your perspective?
The new mantra, which I've been preaching for 20 years, and they're still the old one, and we know it's, oh, you've lost your poor job, says the president of the day, but it's okay because that was a dirty old rusty job. What you need is a nice shiny new job, and all you have to do is go back to college and get even deeper into debt and be a good consumer because we've just been attacked by terrorists. You must go out and shop. I'm talking history, guys, what was said on the 12th of September, 2001.
Right.
We were told that by our president, right? So my mantra would be me Inc. I got it that, you know what? We've thought of the corporation. We're raised by mommy and daddy. And then we get a job and we think of the corporation as another mommy and daddy. And it's not. They don't care. You cross that job into adulthood, you get your first full-time job and pay your first month's rent on an apartment, you're an adult. You have freedom. And guess what else you have? You have to face the fact that no one gives a damn what happens to you. Your success, your failure, what you make of your life is now up to you. How do you make it successful? You take everything you've learned from every job you've ever had and you become me Inc. And you have an R&D department. Where am I going? You have a strategic planning department. How on God's green earth am I going to get there? Right? You have marketing and sales departments and finance departments that says, I could give you explanations for all, and let me just do the finance bit for you. As Americans, on average, we watch 5 hours of television a day. The rest of the time, we're listening to the radio. And we are said to be hit by 2,000 sales messages a day that all say, Jay, you work hard. You deserve this product. And if you buy this product and you buy it now, you will be taller, thinner, stronger, more happy. This isn't possible. But you will be taller, thinner, handsomer. People will like you more. You'll be sexier. And gosh darn it, you just deserve it. And all you need to do is buy it now. And we have to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and start living up to our expectations and dreams instead of our income. Because that's what we're doing as a nation. And that's why we can never get out of the trap of working for the man.
Wow. Well said. I know that there's a number of people who are listening right now who are resonating with your message, and I can only assume that message is carried through every one of your books. What's going to be the best way for them, Martin, to find out more about what you're doing, what you have going on, and maybe even pick up a copy?
We have a website called Knock 'em Dead. Like,
Makes
knock 'em
sense.
dead, kid. knockemdead.com. And you can find, you can read books for free on site. You can watch videos. There's a lot of stuff you can do there. You can get resumes and coaching, and you can buy books. If you want to look into this new idea of me Inc., there's one book I did which introduces the whole thing, and it puts it in the context of, look, you got a job. You probably got this book because you're thinking of changing jobs. And it introduces the idea of multiple parallel careers, shows you how to get that next job, tells you how to make a success of it, get promotions, plan job change, plan career change, and gradually integrate it all into an overall plan to gradually pursue your progress towards entrepreneurial endeavor. Because if you become an entrepreneur, as you know, Jay, takes 4 times as long as you think and costs 5 times as much. Now, not when you're unemployed and 55 and have never earned a buck on your own.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So as we wind down here, I've got one more question for you. I'm kind of curious as to what your answer is going to be. There's let's pretend for a moment that there's a person listening who's standing in front of what I would call the superhero outfit store. They think they're going to go become this entrepreneur. They think they're gonna take that leap and make those things happen. However, as you know, nature often does, when we're considering becoming more or leaving our present place and going to higher heights, we often hear that voice, and I know you know that voice. It's the voice that comes up in the back of our heads sometimes that reminds us of what we can't do, or in your case, you know, you've been turned down 65 times. Are you really going to try again? Or it just says, who are you to think you could start a business or be in control of your career? But yet, for whatever reason, some still choose to push on. I guess my question to you is as follows. Let's pretend that person, even though that voice is playing in the back of their head, that they're going to actually follow through and do this time. They're going to follow through and do exactly what you say, and they're going to do so in the next 24 to 48 hours. What would you suggest that they do?
Very simple. Start thinking in terms of calendars, not clocks. Don't quit that sucky job you got today, because that's putting food on your table. You keep that job and you walk to work towards pulling the trigger on that business, and you stay with that job that's giving you a paycheck every week until the last possible moment, because that's underwriting the development of you. Let's say building the website, building the connections, building the networks of people you're going to be selling to, products to, or services to, developing all the collateral materials, learning what you need to know to make a success of it, knowing that it's going to take longer, knowing that what you think you're going to make this year, you're not going to make till 5 years from now. You know, everything takes longer and costs more and you earn less. It takes time. Think in terms of calendars, not clocks, and start today and work on it every day, because all we got is time.
Love it. I definitely appreciate your wisdom. I can hear it every time you answer a question, and I thank you for taking the time and to invest your knowledge, your insight, and your wisdom here with us today at the Cashflow Diary.
Jay, I have never been on with you before, and I can honestly say this. I've been doing radio shows for 30 years. I've never had more fun in an hour than talking with you. Thank you so much. Your audience is lucky to have you. This is great. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means knockemdead.com. Why? Because 1, you probably want to knock them dead, but 2, you need some insight, some wisdom, some understanding of how to make that career keep moving forward. And many of you, I know, you're looking for that exit. So plan it and think, like you said, in calendars, not clocks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.